Can you explain basically what is allowed and what's not allowed, kind of broadly speaking, for American businessmen? And we can add the disclaimer that you're not providing legal advice in any way to it. Yeah.
I almost need to hold up a sign that says that.
Exactly, yeah.
I think that by and large, it's easiest to think of the U.S. embargo against Iran remains fully in force. There are limited exceptions to that, but they are limited. And I think the terms of the embargo, and particularly the risk of someone being potentially penalized for facilitating sanctioned business, remains as great as ever. In terms of what's allowed, you're certainly allowed to engage in agricultural, humanitarian, medical business with Iran.
Now, those were the case before the JCPOA as well.
That's right.
Correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So that hasn't changed. Nor has it changed that you can provide and do trade in personal telecommunications, which has been allowed ever since 2013. And similarly, that you can receive now, if you're Iranian, support for safety of flight with respect to aviation
Civilian
services.
aircraft, yeah. So that is new. That was added.
Well, this is where the change is. So before the JCPOA, you could still get safety of flight assistance under a strict licensing provision. But a number of aircraft industry people didn't apply, and the Iranians didn't ask them to. Under the JCPOA, Iran can now buy whole airframes as well as get new aviation support under a specific licensing regime. So they actually have to now come and say, if you're Boeing, I would like to export the following number of planes to Iran, explain how. But under the JCPOA, there's now a positive eye to those sorts of services and transactions taking place.
Just on civilian aircraft, given this new post-JCPOA reality, do you think Iran is more likely to look to Boeing or to look to Airbus for civilian aircraft planes and parts?
Honestly, I think they'll have a mix. I mean, the way the aviation industry works, there is a amount of U.S. content in Airbus planes and amount of Airbus content in U.S. planes. That means that without this change, the Iranians wouldn't have been able to buy Airbus or Boeing. It's a change that needed to be made altogether. I think the bigger issue is now they'll be able to buy aircraft from Airbus or Boeing or other Western manufacturers and won't have to rely on either indigenous production or Russian production.
In